10 Hollywood Legends Blacklisted, the stories behind their fall from grace. Welcome to our channel. In this video, we are uncovering the stories of 10 Hollywood legends who found themselves on the infamous blacklist. These talented individuals, once celebrated for their contributions to film and entertainment, were suddenly shunned and silenced due to the political tensions of their time. From career-defining moments to the reasons behind their inclusion on the list, we'll explore how these stars faced adversity and, in some cases, overcame it. Stay tuned for a journey through one of Hollywood's darkest chapters. 1. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, one of Hollywood's greatest silent film stars, faced a dramatic fall from grace in the late 1940s. His journey from being the beloved tramp to a controversial figure in Hollywood was marked by his political views, personal scandals, and the tense political climate of the time. Chaplin's outspoken political beliefs, including his criticism of capitalism and advocacy for social reforms, drew attention during the rise of McCarthyism and the Red Scare in the United States. Although he denied being a communist, his films like The Great Dictator, a satire on Adolf Hitler, and his open disdain for fascism made him a target for those suspicious of leftist ideologies. Personal controversies also fueled his downfall. Chaplin's multiple relationships with younger women, paternity lawsuits, and a perceived disregard for American values made him a polarizing figure. These issues compounded in 1952 when, while traveling to England for a film premiere, U.S. authorities revoked his re-entry permit. This effectively exiled him from the United States, as he chose not to fight the decision. Chaplin spent the rest of his life in Switzerland, where he continued to make films but never regained his previous status in Hollywood. Decades later, he was honored with an honorary Academy Award in 1972, signaling a partial reconciliation with the industry that had once turned its back on him. 2. Dalton Trumbo. Dalton Trumbo was one of Hollywood's most talented screenwriters, known for his sharp storytelling and prolific work. However, in the late 1940s, during the Red Scare, Trumbo became a target of the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC. Trumbo, a member of the Communist Party, was accused of promoting communist ideologies in Hollywood films. When summoned by HUAC in 1947, he refused to answer questions about his political beliefs or name others, invoking his First Amendment rights. This defiance landed him in prison for contempt of Congress and marked him as one of the Hollywood 10. After serving 11 months in prison, Trumbo was blacklisted, effectively barring him from working openly in Hollywood. Undeterred, he continued to write under pseudonyms. Two of his screenplays, Roman Holiday, 1953, and The Brave One, 1956, even won Academy Awards, though he couldn't claim credit at the time. Trumbo's fight against the blacklist ended in triumph when he was openly credited for Spartacus, 1960, and Exodus, 1960, helping to dismantle the blacklist and restoring his rightful place in Hollywood history. 3. Lena Horne. Lena Horne, a trailblazing African-American singer, actress, and activist, was one of Hollywood's brightest stars during the 1940s. Known for her stunning voice and captivating performances, she broke barriers in an industry rife with racial discrimination. However, her outspoken activism and ties to progressive movements led to her being blacklisted during the McCarthy-era Red Scare. Horne was a vocal advocate for civil rights, frequently speaking out against racial segregation and inequality. She supported organizations like the NAACP and worked with figures like Paul Robeson, who was himself a target of anti-communist investigations. Her friendships with politically active individuals and participation in left-leaning causes drew the attention of the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC. Though there was no evidence of communist ties, her activism was enough to make her a target. The blacklist effectively ended Horne's Hollywood career, as studios feared associating with her. Despite this setback, she refused to stay silent, continuing her activism and reinventing herself as a nightclub performer and recording artist. Her resilience and refusal to compromise her principles made her a symbol of strength and integrity, leaving a lasting legacy both in entertainment and the fight for justice. 4. Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson, a celebrated actor, singer, and activist, rose to fame in the early 20th century with his exceptional talent and commanding presence. Known for his roles in films like Showboat and The Emperor Jones, Robeson was also a vocal advocate for civil rights and social justice, often using his platform to speak out against racism and inequality. However, his outspoken political views, particularly his admiration for the Soviet Union and criticism of U.S. policies, drew the ire of the government during the Red Scare of the 1940s and 1950s. Robeson's support for labor unions, anti-colonial movements, and his refusal to stay silent about racial injustices made him a target for suspicion. In 1949, Robeson's criticism of U.S. foreign policy and remarks about African Americans not wanting to fight against the Soviet Union in a potential war led to public outrage. He was accused of being a communist sympathizer, which tarnished his reputation. The House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, investigated him, and he was blacklisted from Hollywood, unable to work in films or major concerts. The U.S. government revoked his passport, preventing him from performing abroad, where he had significant support. Despite the harsh treatment, Robeson remained steadfast in his beliefs, becoming a symbol of resistance against oppression. His career never fully recovered in the U.S., but his legacy as a trailblazer and advocate for justice endures. 5. Edward G. Robinson. Edward G. Robinson, a celebrated actor known for his roles in gangster classics like Little Caesar, faced an unexpected career downturn during the Red Scare of the 1940s and 1950s. Robinson was an outspoken advocate for progressive causes, supporting civil rights, anti-fascist efforts, and other liberal organizations. However, during the McCarthy era, his affiliations with groups later accused of being communist fronts drew suspicion. Although Robinson vehemently denied being a communist, his name appeared on the infamous Hollywood blacklist, barring him from major roles. To clear his name, he testified before the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, in 1952, where he disavowed his past affiliations and named others in the industry, a decision that haunted him for the rest of his life. Despite his efforts, the damage to his career was significant, and he was relegated to smaller, less prominent roles. Robinson's story reflects the fear-driven politics of the era, which unfairly targeted individuals for their beliefs or associations, often with devastating personal and professional consequences. 6. Judy Holiday. Judy Holiday, a talented actress known for her comedic roles, found herself blacklisted during the McCarthy era, a time when Hollywood was gripped by fear of communist influence. In 1952, Holiday was called to testify before the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, because of her alleged connections to left-wing causes. While she denied being a communist and passed a loyalty test, her former acquaintances and affiliations were enough to raise suspicions. Holiday was never formally blacklisted like some of her peers, but her reputation was severely damaged and her career suffered. Despite her acquittal, the media portrayed her as a sympathizer, and many producers hesitated to hire her. The impact of the blacklist was profound, overshadowing her talents and leading to a period of professional exile. Nevertheless, Holiday eventually returned to the screen, though her career was never the same. 7. Zero Mostel. Zero Mostel, a talented actor and comedian, was blacklisted from Hollywood during the McCarthy era due to his involvement with the Communist Party. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, during the height of the Red Scare, Mostel was subpoenaed by the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, due to his political affiliations. He refused to testify and name names, invoking his Fifth Amendment rights, which led to him being blacklisted in the entertainment industry. The impact was devastating for Mostel's career. He lost his Hollywood roles and struggled to find work for several years. However, despite being blacklisted, Mostel continued to perform in New York, where his career regained momentum. He made a triumphant return to Broadway, winning acclaim for his performances, most notably in the musical Fiddler on the Roof in 1964. His resilience and talent ultimately overshadowed the scars of the blacklist, cementing his legacy as one of the great comedic actors of his time. 8. John Garfield. John Garfield, a talented actor known for his intense, raw performances in films like The Postman Always Rings Twice and Body and Soul, became one of the most notable figures of Hollywood's blacklist era. In the late 1940s, during the height of the Cold War, the U.S. government, fueled by fear of communist infiltration, began investigating Hollywood figures for possible communist ties. Garfield, a staunch advocate for workers' rights and social justice, had been associated with leftist political groups, which made him a target. In 1951, Garfield was called before the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, and named as a former member of the Communist Party by several informants. Though he denied being a communist, his past associations, including his support for labor unions and his friendship with alleged communists, led to his being blacklisted by Hollywood studios. As a result, Garfield struggled to find work in major films, and his career declined. The stress of the blacklisting took a toll on Garfield's health. He became deeply disillusioned and was unable to rebuild his career in the face of the blacklisting. Tragically, he died of a heart attack at the age of 39 in 1952, just a few years after his career had been destroyed. His story remains a powerful reminder of the destructive effects of the Hollywood blacklist during the McCarthy era. 9. Orson Welles. Orson Welles, a visionary filmmaker and actor, was blacklisted from Hollywood in the late 1940s and early 1950s, primarily due to his outspoken political views and association with controversial figures. Known for his groundbreaking work in Citizen Kane, Welles became a target during the Red Scare, a time when the U.S. government was aggressively pursuing suspected communist sympathizers. Welles' support for leftist ideologies, combined with his criticism of American political institutions, made him a target of scrutiny. In 1947, he was summoned to testify before the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, where he refused to name names, maintaining his stance on free speech and artistic freedom. This defiance and his progressive beliefs led to a tarnished reputation in Hollywood. Studios, fearing government backlash, distanced themselves from Welles, effectively blacklisting him and hindering his career in the U.S. Despite this, Welles continued to work in Europe, where his creativity and innovative storytelling were still highly regarded. Though his career in Hollywood was never the same, Welles' legacy as a filmmaker and his impact on cinema remain enduring. 10. Dorothy Parker. Dorothy Parker, a renowned writer, poet, and critic, was blacklisted from Hollywood during the McCarthy era due to her political affiliations and outspoken leftist views. A member of the Algonquin Round Table, Parker was known for her sharp wit and sharp critiques of society, but her political stance, particularly her support for civil rights and her sympathy for communist causes, made her a target during the Red Scare. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, the U.S. government launched a campaign to root out suspected communists from Hollywood, and Parker was among those named. Her previous membership in left-wing organizations, her association with known communists, and her vocal criticism of the government made her a target. In 1950, Parker was called to testify before the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, but she refused to cooperate, invoking her First Amendment rights and refusing to name names. As a result, she was blacklisted, and her career in Hollywood came to a halt. Parker's work in Hollywood, including her screenwriting contributions, was overshadowed by the political climate, and she spent the remainder of her life largely away from the spotlight, continuing to write but never regaining her previous success in the film industry. Despite her blacklisting, Dorothy Parker remains a powerful literary figure, known for her wit, insight, and unapologetic individuality. These legends endured immense challenges during one of Hollywood's darkest chapters, yet many of them left an indelible mark on film and history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into Hollywood's untold stories.